Day 21 of buying my reseller warehouse. We're here the day after the move, although there's still a little bit of moving left to happen. But I thought before the movers got here to wrap things up, I'd take you through a little quick tour just to show you all of the progress. My office all empty. Man, when you see it like this, it's like, whoa, a lot of stuff on the floor. I need to get that cleaned up. So there will be a cleanup day over here. Again, over here, all empty. These two little small offices are now all empty. And this one right here, empty. I need to probably take this down. I'll probably do that myself. That's such a small, simple thing. I'll come over here on cleanup day and do that. In this office, they didn't grab everything. These are some things that'll have to go today. So these tables and that'll all get gone. Then we're back here. This is, you know, what I was talking about yesterday when I said that I was shooting for this to all happen in one day. So literally there was a truck right there outside that window at 11:30, and you know, the truck door was open and I knew all this stuff was here, and I was like, let's go, let's load this up. And that's where we had the conversation about, well, you know, we think just one day. So anyways, it's fine, it's fine. What you see that's left will all go today, which is a lot of the lumber and the shelving. I'm glad to see that some of these shelving pieces were able to stay together. They had to, I'm not quite sure why this one's missing the pieces and it's still together. But anyways, I think one of the guys just took the wooden shelf pieces off. But this really won't take them long, just based on what I have seen with how quickly they can put stuff on a hand truck and roll it out. So I think this will go pretty quickly, which will be good. We'll get back over to the new building, get it all dropped off. So probably by noon, this will all be done and those guys will be on their way. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. I am a little torn about this style of shelving. I just don't know if some of this is real rusty and stuff. I think, some of this I got sort of people gave to me, and I'm just not sure if I'm going to put this back together. So I think what I might have them do is disassemble this, and then I'll decide on the other end if I want to put it back together or if I just want to salvage out the pieces of wood for the shelf. I haven't quite decided, but anyways. All right, movers will be here soon, so I better get ready for them. Day 21, oh my gosh. Is it really day 21? It's been a long journey, y'all. All right, the movers just left. Oh man. So let me walk you through and show you. Of course, most of these rooms were emptied already. Now we go in here. This big room, this was our main shipping room. It is empty, and oh my gosh, I do feel a little bad that the floor looks so bad, but I've reached out to a cleaning company that I have used before and trying to get them to come over and maybe get this cleaned up so that my landlord doesn't freak out and give me a hard time when I'm handing him my keys. Well, let's go into the big room. Holy cow, look at this. So different, so different. I have been here in this space now for going on 6 years, and to see it empty, it kind of reminds me of what I saw when I first moved in, where I thought this was a big, beautiful space. It was so much larger than what I had in my previous location. And I just thought it was perfect for my business. But literally, the way I kind of, in my mind, think about it now is I think I just outgrew this space. I've mentioned before in earlier videos that I've had to develop consignment relationships with some other people because I just literally couldn't store everything that we bought. The lighting, now that I look at it, the way that it hangs down, I didn't see this as a problem before, but it certainly became a problem because of how our shelves would go right up to the top of the lighting, and that was a problem. But anyways, it's kind of cool to see it all broken down, nothing in here. Obviously, my employee told me I just need to bring a blower and just blow it. I might do both. I have a big sweep broom. I might have a big push broom and just push broom it tomorrow, but also bring a blower just to have that satisfaction of blowing everything out. I also disconnected all of the internet stuff, and Spectrum will meet them soon and hand that over so that that's all turned in. Some of this stuff I actually own now because I paid that company almost 6 years ago to install these other pieces, but I think most likely now at this point that stuff is just old. You know, they probably wouldn't want it back, but I'll check with Anthony and see. So anyways, it's kind of amazing. Oh, this was another interesting thing I probably never pointed out. Originally, this was 2 units together, and at some point when this wall was built, there was a door here that connected the 2 units. And so for a while, even while I leased this space, this door did not have a lock on it. And one time my neighbor, he was being cheeky, and he said, you know, I could just come into your unit through that door, don't you? And of course I had an alarm system, so that would have been a problem. But I did say something to the landlord, and he put in a deadbolt lock. I don't have a key to this deadbolt. I don't know who does. But anyways, that gets you to the other side. So my landlords now, I don't know what will happen to this space. Other than the fact I know they don't want any more car guys coming into this space. I do know that. Ooh, and I got a few things like this little floor mat I need to take. I think I probably got that from my brother. My brother, he's convinced that I'm in love with Volkswagen Bugs. We did have a Volkswagen Bug for a long time, but anyway, so at Christmas he always gets me something Volkswagen-y. So, all right, I need to go follow the movers over to the new building. I don't know that I'll film while they are, you know, sort of in action unloading the truck, because that would just make it a little weird. And then I'll come back over here, like I said, probably tomorrow with a broom and maybe a blower, trash bag, and really pick up. And if I can get this cleaning service to come, and they'll come and vacuum it and, you know, just get it all looking nice, mop the floors, everything, just really make it very presentable for the landlord so that I don't get any grief from him. And that way I'll feel good about it too, that I've handed it over, you know, in a clean, good manner. And then I'm gonna get the power turned off. That's my very next call, is gonna get the power turned off, because I don't need to be paying for electricity in 2 different places. So let me start off by making sure, yeah, the heat is turned off here. So I'm not paying for the heat anymore. So that's it. All right, let's go see what's going on with the movers. The movers have come and gone. It has been quite an eventful day. Lots of stories to share with you. But first, let me start off by showing you really the majority of what they were working on today was this lumber. And when you see it all kind of laid out, it kind of goes back to what I've been saying, is that I really have plenty of lumber to build all these shelves. I just need to kind of engineer it. So literally kind of walk back here, just tons of these ladder type pieces. This is some 2 foot wide, 8 foot long sheets that we'll definitely put to good use. That's what this is as well. Get more lumber here. And then take a look at all of this 8 foot long pieces here. Just from having done this so many years, I have 3 different types of wood. This one is that really, really thick one that's gonna help us solve the neckerchief boxes. This is kind of an underlayment, but actually it's pretty thick wood and does pretty well. And then this is that USB that we probably need to use for lighter things. And then I have a lot of small pieces. Some of these in the back, I think, match up to some of the metal shelving that I have. And then just some few odds and ends. So the biggest thing is, you know, I just don't need to buy any more lumber. This is good. So starting tomorrow, we're gonna be working on that project. Tables, that's been an interesting point today. So these 2 tables were the ones in the main shipping office, and we have them flipped upside down because we're gonna attach casters to them so that these can roll around and move in the warehouse. That's been kind of one of my themes, is I kind of want the ability to rearrange things, move things around. I had 2 other pieces that I kind of had this in the back of my mind. I had this big table that you've seen in some of the videos in the back of the warehouse, big wooden, thick wood, actually made from white cypress. I used to live in Lumberton, North Carolina, an eastern part of North Carolina, a lot of swamps back in there. And when I had this guy make a table for me, he went to the sawmill, the lumber yard, and got this white cypress boards that I guess he could get relatively inexpensive, but it's a very light wood. It's a very soft wood as well. And that's what he built that giant table out of. It started off being a table at our house that was kind of an outdoor table on our deck. And then eventually when I had the need for it at the business, it came inside. And it's been kind of I've always called it our sorting table. We've used it for years to kind of sort out collections. And a lot of the videos that I've filmed, that table is kind of a character in those. So when we got it off the truck, along with these 2 tables, it was sitting out there. And I kind of had this idea in the back of my mind. And so I just kind of went for it. Next door, I have met the neighbor, and her name is Chrissy. She runs an outfit. Let me get the name right, because I told her I'd give her a shout out. Carolina Home Fine Finishes. They do cabinet furniture and refinishing. And so I had met her. She's very nice. We talked about, all the things you talk about, kids and blah, 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 blah. And so I went in there and I said, my guys are unloading this table, and would you come look at it? I don't know what you would, if you could refinish this for me or not, but I'd love for you to come look at it. So she came out and looked at it, and she's like, oh, this is really nice wood, and blah, blah, blah. I kind of told her the story of how I got it made. And I said, before I bring it inside, I really just kind of like to get it, cleaned up. Like it's got 10 years worth of, dirt and spilled coffee and whatever else on it. Just doesn't look that good. And she's like, yeah, I understand. So, and I said, I also have this other piece, which I think you might have seen in some of the videos. There was this skinny countertop in the main shipping office that rested on top of some metal shelving. That actually came out of a shed. A guy had a workshop in a shed, and it was sort of given to me. And so we've been using that as sort of our Best Hobby Pages countertop, if you will. And I said, well, what about this? Do you think you could sand this and just kind of, get it looking a little better? And she did, and she gave me a price for both of them. It sounded reasonable. And I was like, done. And I said, while I have the movers here, could I have them carry it into your business? And she was like, sure. So you can't make this up. So literally, the very last thing the movers did was they put those two tables in here on their backs so we could put the casters on. And then they walked the countertop and that big heavy cypress table, it's not that heavy, but it's big, into her business. And it was just perfect. And then I've gone and run a few other errands, and I've actually come back, and I went to speak to her again because I didn't have much time to talk to her when the movers were here. And lo and behold, they had already sanded. They already started sanding it. And it's looking really good. Like, oh my gosh, it's gonna look really pretty. And she's already put the casters on it. I bought casters, so she already put casters on it. So that's gonna be really cool. And just think of, like, again, this thing of, like, you're moving into a new space, you want it to be like you want it to be, and here's this table that literally in our family history, as my wife and my children, we talk about, in fact, my wife's joke, the table is so freaking big, it had benches that also went around it. She called it the Knights of the Square Table. That's her little joke. I'm listening to you. And that's what she called it, the Knights of the Square Table. And so anyway, so I'm getting the Knights of the Square Table refinished. So it's gonna be awesome. So, all right. What else the guys did was they came in here and brought a lot of this stuff over here. Again, a little bit more boards and stuff. Brought in these items here. These big dolly pieces, they broke down all that metal shelving I had, and I actually asked them if they would just put it in these boxes and leave the boxes. I think technically I'm renting these boxes, so this needs to be something I need to take care of relatively soon so I can get those back. But this way I can decide what I want to do with these metal shelves and kind of get them built out where it's going to go. And then the brown shelves they brought into here. Let me turn the light on. And I mentioned a few times this is going to be the Best Hobby Pages room, and so this is not laid out how we're going to lay it out, but essentially you can see the idea of these tall brown shelves. We have two more of them over here in pieces that we'll build, so we'll be able to fill all that in. This is the Best Hobby Page table that you saw before, and then this is one that we had in a different room, but actually when I bought Best Hobby Pages from the guy Joe who came up with the idea back in 2009, this was a table that Joe used in order to pack and ship all his Best Hobby Page orders, and when I bought it from him, he let me have the table as well. So literally Joe built this table, and now it is once again becoming the Best Hobby Pages table. So this is all going to kind of come over here and look out. And I'm glad to see that Julie actually made a comment that because I was going to I put these shelves right here. This is what that countertop rested on top. And she said, oh, you're not going to block in my view, are you? And I was like, no. But it did make me feel good that she also felt like having this workspace looking out was kind of like a nice natural view versus feeling like you were in a closed room or something that was, kind of jumped in. So anyways, that worked out really well. So what we're going to do tomorrow is we are going to come over here. Lori should be here. I've invited Brad to come help us, and we're going to start working on all this. We've got to fix these sagging shelves, and Lori agreed to my idea of just taking this rib piece and ripping it down, getting it where these pieces will come together, and then these really heavy boards that we have, I have a whole stack of out there we'll use. And then we'll do the same thing here, basically create 2 different neckerchief racks, and then all of these neckerchief boxes will get up off the floor. And I'll tell you, as soon as I start seeing floor space like becoming available and this mess here starting to get tamed, that's when I'll feel like we're really making some progress. So getting all of those neckerchiefs, if we get all that inventory up where it's supposed to be tomorrow, I'll be very excited, because that'll start to seem like the beginning of getting everything fixed. And then again, that metal shelving, I need to figure out where in the back of the warehouse I'm going to use that metal shelving, because I got to get those containers unloaded and get those back to the moving company. But all in all, this has been a terrific day. We did not get our mail carrier to pick up the mail today, so I don't know what happened on there. I spoke to the postmaster yesterday about it, but she did share that there is a substitute driver or carrier, I guess we should call them. And I have kind of noticed that in my experience, that's when we always had problems at our old building, when we had substitute people, because they might not know the hours or, you know, remember to come or whatever. And so I literally was here when the movers were here, and I saw a USPS van go by coming out of our parking lot, and I was like, no, but you know, obviously couldn't get to them. So that might be a little bit of a struggle. I've had to run already over to the local post office and scan in all of our mail, you know, beep, 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 scan it in manually using their electronic machine. And I don't want to keep doing that day after day after day. So we'll definitely get this figured out, if not, you know, tomorrow, the next day. But I did find out another really cool story. This one's sort of hard to believe. Let me walk out here and just kind of show you since we got outside here. So when the moving company was coming today, I had told my employees to move their cars, and we had to have this area cleared up for the moving people, right? So we did that, and I told my employees and myself just to go park down there. So I don't know if you can see in this car, there is a white Excursion down there, a white Excursion parked sort of perpendicular to the building. And that car wasn't there, so we parked over there. And then the guy came over and said, hey, did y'all park in front of my building? And I said, oh yeah, we did, so sorry, you know, there was moving trucks and everything like that. And so got to talking to the guy, because Chrissy over here had told me a little bit about him, and of course I'd never met him. This is my first opportunity to meet him, so I wanted to, you know, kind of be nice. And so started up a conversation with him, and we stood in the parking lot, I kid you not, for about 30 minutes talking. And then he invited me into his building, and we talked for about 30 minutes. And then we walked around the back, and then we came over here and talked for another 30 minutes. I mean, literally, I think I spent 2 hours talking to this guy. His name's Lance, really interesting guy. His dad owned that building and ran a print shop out of it. And then he got it, he inherited it when his dad passed away. And he told me that he ran it as a print shop until 2007, and that's when he said it was like April of 2007, his last employee walked out the door and he turned the lights off. That was the end of the business. And since then, he has not really operated a business out of that location. He's done some little stuff. He's also has a lot of storage in that business, or in that building, but he really does not run, you know, an active business. And so, you know, we're walking around looking at stuff. It's like a museum. There's like this gigantic printing press that's like 20 feet long. And he showed me how that used to be a printing press they would print all this stuff on. And then it's just like all this old printing press stuff everywhere. And not surprisingly, there is also a shit ton of envelopes and paper and just all the stuff you would imagine. Imagine if like a company or a store that did printing went out of business and had all the stuff just left behind. It's almost like people talk about going into a barn, right? And there's this like vintage car that's been sitting there for like 30 years. It hasn't cranked in 30 years, and there's little, mouse nests in the exhaust pipe, and there's, dust, and you have to blow the dust off to see, the old vintage car, but that there's value there. That there's something there that's good. And that was kind of what the moment I was having in Lance's building, is that he had shuttered the business 18 years ago. And literally there's all of these envelopes and reams and reams and reams of paper everywhere that he has not bothered with since 2007. And he told me he'd even given it away to local art teachers in the community, just trying to get rid of it. And he is actually under contract to sell that building. And so he's in the due diligence period, which is the period where the buyer, as I've gone through this, I know what this is. The buyer does all their inspections, that's what due diligence is, right? And make sure everything's kosher, and then you have closing. So literally he is kind of in a situation where if everything goes to plan with selling the building, he will need to clear out that building before closing, because obviously people want to move in. And so, he offered to me that I could have, he didn't say how much or whatever. That's going to be, I guess, the next conversation, the envelopes and paper. But I'm literally thinking like, oh my God, like I would go on Amazon, or I would go to our Amazon return store around, just up the road there. Shout out VistaAuction.com, and I would go buy envelopes, for us to use in the business. And I'm like, oh my God, like I told my employee, it's literally a lifetime supply of envelopes and paper. Like I would never have to buy them again, ever. And now I have a 5,000 square foot building, so I could just, hey, I got some shelving. Let me build a shelf for like, Lance's paper stock, and I'll just have that up there. So I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but he was really genuinely nice, and I did enjoy talking to him. Real character. And so we'll see if he would be willing to let me get some stuff from him. So that is sort of a to be continued story. But day 21 has really been a good day, getting everything over here, kind of closing the doors on that building over there. Still got to get over there and get it cleaned up, but I mean that's maybe an hour, for me to go over there and sweep it and vacuum it and just be done with it. If the cleaning ladies can come, that's great. If they can't, I'll just do it myself and do the best I can do. But yeah, day 21, it's been awesome. And it's also kind of nice meeting the neighbors too. I still have a couple more neighbors I need to kind of formally meet, but just to kind of get the lay of the land as far as who's here and all that. So, and I love the fact that I was able to give my immediate next door neighbor business. I'm going to pay her, obviously, whatever she tells me it costs to get those done. She gave me a quote, but to sort of again make a relationship with a neighbor, so that would be positive. And I got her business card. She's got my business card. So that's going to be good for me going forward. So yeah, day 21, it's looking better. I really feel like this was like, some of the days I've recorded have been bleary-eyed, stressful. But I'm sort of feeling energized, honestly, at the end of the day recording this video, because I sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like the only thing I have left to do that requires somebody else's assistance, I'm going to get a locksmith over here tomorrow to change the locks. So I have my own keys and stuff and copies. And literally that might be the only thing. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of another thing I need to line up for someone to come over here or do something or whatever. I think I've got everything else figured out. So that's a good place to be. So all right, day 21, Jason Spangler. I go by SanteeSwapper on eBay. Would love to hear your comments and any other questions you have about things you wanted me to cover. It's day 21, so we only got 9 days left. So if you have any things you want me to focus on or talk about, chime in. And of course, there's a playlist that you can watch in order to see all the videos in this series. Thanks for watching.